Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will be talking about why Vinicius Jr. don't deserve the Ballon d'Or, because I think it will be one of the most undeserving Ballon d'Or if he gets it. He is barely a top 4 player, and I will show some stats and talk about why I think that. Let's go to his own stats for last season. As you can see, his team finished first in Liga. They went out in the round of 16 in the Copa del Rey. They were in the Super Cup. They won the Champions League. They had national team World Cup qualifiers, which is not finished yet. They had international finish, and he had a bad Copa America. Brazil had a bad Copa America, went out in the quarterfinals. Now, if we look at the games from the Liga, he scored 15 goals and 6 assists in 26 games, which is a decent goal to game ratio. But he was not there for the biggest game. As an example, in the two Clásicos, it was primarily Jude Bellingham that scored the goals that gave them the win over Barcelona. So he was not there for the biggest games in Spain. And that's also reflected in his average match rating, which is a 7.24, which is good, but this is the best player of the season worthy. He has rarely over 8. He's very inconsistent. He is, of course, a good dribbler, which is why many people like to say he's the best player, but he doesn't actually execute on his dribbles and actually create chances and score goals with him. He's also a very selfish player. He has very few assists from playing wing. Remember, he's an attacker. We're not talking about a midfielder. We're not talking about a number 10. We're talking about an attacker. And Ronaldo played with him and Rodrigo on two wings, and then often Bellingham at number 10 behind. So he should have a more goals contribution than he has. It's not enough for a player that is not even. That's not good enough. The best tournament he has is the Spanish Super Cup, where he scored 3 goals in 2 games and has a very high match rating. That's where you can say he steps up the most, and actually it's the only tournament where you can say, okay, there he's the best player in the world. But in La Liga, Jude Bellingham was a better player. Then we go over to Champions League, where he won Player of the Tournament in the Champions League. So he was, according to, voted the best player in the Champions League. And he has some good stats for the Champions League. His team against finished first. He has 10 games. He has 6 goals, 5 assists, and a 7.9 match rating. Now, I hear a lot of people say, oh, Vinicius deserved it because he was clutch in the final. Well, he scored 2-0 in the final. Who scored the first goal? Danny Carvajal. Vinicius was actually, most of his goals was not like in important situations. And he's also, if you look, he has very few games played in both La Liga and even teams with. He played for a team that got to the final. He played very few games. He's not there all the time. People say, oh, but so what? We count if a player gets injured after 4 games and scored 12 goals in the first game, they're the best player in the world because they have a 4-12 game ratio and then they come back and win everything. No. So a part of why he is also not the best player is because he was not playing a lot of games, and that's why I also think to be the best player you have to also play a good part of the season, and he just hit that, and it's not really enough. And while many people say, oh, he was the best player, he only had a 7.9 in the Champions League. We will come back more to these average ratings, but these average ratings are taken from the match of flash scores and then counted out and divided by the games. For Brazil, which is what really tanks his, like in the World Cup qualification, he has 6 games, 0 goals, 1 assist. Like, we're talking about the best player in the world. If Messi put up these numbers, people would laugh at him, make jokes of him. If Ronaldo put up these numbers, people would say he was washed. We're talking Vinicius Prime when you think he deserves the Ballon d'Or. Like, this contribution from the best player in the world on the national team is just not good enough. And it's one of the biggest reasons why he doesn't deserve it. His national team is not good. Yes, he's a great dribbler. Yes, he has great pace. Yes, he did score some important goals last season, but he's not good enough to be the best player. Then people say, oh, but he won a lot of stuff. Yeah, he won 3 trophies. Then went out to the round of 16 to the Colorado and the quarterfinals in the Copa America to, I think, Canada. He had a good Copa America despite Brazil being lackluster, but that's not really like we are counting. Now, I was sure why other Real Madrid deserve it more than him, and then I have some other players I also think deserve it more. Then we go to the player I think Real Madrid actually deserves it, Jude Bellingham. He was the Liga Player of the Year. He has the same wins as Vinicius, but a runner-up at the Euros. He played more games, so he was more available. He scored more goals. He had the same amount of assists in La Liga. Remember, this is a midfielder we're talking about, not an attacker. This is why this is really, really amazing stats for a midfielder, and which is why I think Jude Bellingham deserves way more than Vinicius Jr. because he played so much better for what is expected for his position and was the reason why Real Madrid actually won the league, I would say. He was the reason they won their 2 games against Barcelona in the Clásicos last year. And look at the goal contributions. Like again, runners up in the Euro where he had people say, "Oh, Jude Bellingham didn't step on the Euros." First of all, the Clásicos. Second, his bicycle clip to keep England in the Euros in the I think it was quarterfinals. Even in Champions League, he has 9 goal contributions. Like he's way more of a consistent player where Vinicius is hit or miss depending on the team's plays. It's just because he plays better for Real Madrid, but we need to remember Real Madrid is a team of superstars. So that's actually against him because Vinicius doesn't play well with his national team, where he doesn't have 10 other superstars to play with. But as you can see, Bellingham still put up decent numbers in the 3 national teams. This was Euro qualifiers, this was the Euros, and this was friendly games. One of them even against Brazil. You can also see on his match rating, his lowest is the 7.65. So he doesn't have the same high as Vinicius in average, but his floor is way higher, which is why I think he's the best. Maybe Vinicius had 1 game in the Champions League final, but Jude Bellingham carried Real Madrid to the top in many important games. Like, do we forget the first half year of the season last year? Everyone was talking about, oh, Jude Bellingham's amazing, he's the best player in the world, and now it's like, oh, Vinicius is the best player. There was no one ever talking about Jude Bellingham being the best player in the world. Like, why are we having this attacker bias? Why are we having? But as you can see, Jude Bellingham has very decent stats and was runner-up in the Euros, so he actually has a better trophy amount than Vinicius Jr., and therefore, if you purely go on trophies, deserve it more, which is one of the criteria to win the ballon d'or. Then we go to another midfielder, just to combine. As you can see, Valverde, he is way more, he's way lower down, but it's to show that this is what a normal midfielder plays at. This is what Valverde plays at for the same team as Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham plays a little bit more forward, but sometimes Valverde also played on the right wing, so 2 goals and 7 assists is not really a lot. So yeah, again, better if you purely go on trophies, better finish than Jude Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. But I wouldn't say Valverde deserved the Ballon d'Or, but he's definitely in the conversation. I would say, for me, as a midfielder, he did the same amount of things as Vinicius because he was there to actually let Vinicius, Rodrigo, and Bellingham run forward, which is very important. He also plays a lot more games, which means he had more time to also brilliant, but also to make mistakes. And he plays a position where it's more punishable. If like Vinicius got 2 goals and Ronaldo 3-2, Vinicius will still get a good rating. Then we go to the last number one player I'm talking, which is Carvajal. If we purely go on trophies, Carvajal should win the Ballon d'Or without question. First of all, he finished first in the Euros, unlike Vinicius, Bellingham, and Valverde. He won another trophy with his national team. He didn't just was good in Real Madrid. Then we'll look at his ratings. Yes, in the round of 16 they went out. He has a bad rating, but most of the players that played in those games have a bad rating because they went out in the round of 16 they Copa del Rey and national fitness, but we shouldn't value fitness that much. But if you look down here, because you're a defender, I have added clean sheets, which is something important for defender too. I think we shouldn't count defenders on goals and assists. We should also look at how many clean sheets the team have to play for. In 15 of the 28 games he played, he had 15 clean sheets. He was a big part of Real Madrid's integral defense, and you can also see this is a bit of, but this season you can see his power, which is why I think last season Real Madrid's defense was way better, way more consistent, and didn't make as many mistakes, and was maybe more on the same page when it came to a lot of decisions. Which is why you can see that I actually think he should win it as a defender because he actually showed how much of a difference it makes to Ronaldo when he's not there. Again, he had some good average ratings across all competitions that except the one around the flop. And he got another trophy. So if you value trophies, which is what one of the criteria, Danny Carvajal, you can also feel like when he was defending, you felt okay. Real Madrid, they don't concede that many goals because Carvajal is in the back and Rudiger and in the middle tower. He was a big integral part of Madrid's defense because their fullback was Mendy, which is coming, which was more attacking. So I definitely think that if you want to say rogue shout for the Ballon d'Or, it should be Danny Carvajal over Vinicius Jr. because Vinicius Jr. is an attacker that have a decent season where Carvajal is a defender that have a good season. And if we talk about clutch moments, the Champions League final, which is his one and only goal in the Champions League, he scored first to 1-0. So I mean, when he scored, it was way more of a pretty situation than when Vinicius scored. Real Madrid was already ahead when Vinicius scored in the final, but Vinicius was close for scoring in the Champions League final. Then Carvalho is way more clutch because first of all he's a defender. He scores to bring them to 1-0 to get Dortmund to come out and actually attack, which gives space to Vinicius to score. So if you want to credit Vinicius from scoring in the Champions League final being clutch for, you need to give way more credit to Dan Carvalho because he did it in a more precision since they weren't in front. If Vinicius scored, they could still have won the game. So Danny Carvalho is definitely a rogue shout for the Ballon d'Or, but like I said, I will show some more cases and then I will talk more about the Ballon d'Ors in general. Then we have some players that didn't play well. If you want to purely go on goals, Harry Kane. Harry Kane was the best goal scorer last year. The only reason he can win the Ballon d'Or is because look at his results. He got third, second rounded, runner-up, semi-finals, runner-up. But he did his job as a striker and scored 36 goals. Remember when Haaland did that in the Premier League, everyone was losing their mind. He also won treble, but this amount of goal contribution in both the Premier League and the Champions League is way better. And again, look at the ratings. Only one game did they have 5.8 in, and the rest is over 7. So Harry Kane, if you wanted to look as a pure striker, which I think we should more compare Vinny's number, Vinny should only be like 10 goals behind Harry Kane overall, and he is way more. I think even if you combine all Vinny's goals, he doesn't even hit like his goals in the Bundesliga, and he should hit that. He played at one of the most forward positions, and it was from one of the best teams in the league. He should have had way more dominant stats, which is why I again think Vinicius Jr. shouldn't. He wasn't dominant enough to win the best player of the world. Then we go to the striker I actually think should win the Ballon d'Or. Lautaro Martinez, if you want to go to striker. Yes, he doesn't have an as good goal to game ratio as Harry Kane, but he has the trophies unlike Harry Kane. They won Serie A, they won the Super Cup Italia, he won Copa America, he got the Golden Boot in Copa America and Copa Italia, he won Player of the Year in the Serie A. And again, he has some very, very good ratings. He actually matters to his team. What he contributed is quantifiable, and he actually won individual rewards, which, besides the Champions League Player of the Season, Vinicius Jr., he won 2 Golden Boots, he won a Serie A Player of the Tournament, he won the Serie A, he won the Super Cup Italia, he won the Copa America. Yes, he went out early in the Champions League, which is again why you could say, oh, he shouldn't win it because of that, but the Champions League is not end all be all. Then why are we even having Ballon? Why are we not just calling it the reward for winning the Champions League and the reward for the best player in the final? That's basically what we're about to make the Ballon if we let Vinicius Jr. win. He doesn't deserve it. He had a lot of good games, but we are talking about a world-class player having all games that is expected. We're not talking about he had enough performance to be the best player in the world. Lautaro Martinez was integral to Argentina winning the Copa America, integral to Inter winning the Serie A. He scored and assisted the 2 games playing the Super Cup, and he underperformed in the Champions League. That I will agree on, and he underperformed for the national team. So again, if you want to take that against him, fine. But then we should also take that Vinicius and Brazil underperform in Copa America and for the national team and in the friendlies. We need to actually look at this. Yes, he won the Champions League. He played for Real Madrid. They have 11 world-class players. They have the best goalkeeper. Yes, he was injured, but they had Danny Carvajal, they had Antonio Rudiger, they had Eder Militao, they had Ferdinand Mendy, they had Camavinga, Valverde, Bellingham, Cruz, Modric, Tchouaméni, Rodrigo, and Vinicius. Those were around the starting 11 players. Any of those players will go into 99% of teams will and get an instant starting spot. But we're saying, oh, but Vinicius was way better than all, which I don't think he was. I think that there was players that were way more. He was integral too. He was their best attack. He was one of the best attack. I'm not even sure he was better than Rodrigo. But definitely, we can say he's the best player. Especially not the best player of the season. He did really well in he did well in the Champions League final, which is what people would argue. That's why you deserve it. But I mean, the Tao Martinez is a rogue shout, but I would give him first winner of the Copa America. So you can say, oh, but a bad Champions League. Okay, then we go to Rodri. Now let's look at how he played. He played in the Premier League, which a lot of people think is the hardest league to play in. They won the league. Yes, he played for Man City, which have the same as He played with 11 of the best players in the world, so we should expect him to finish high. They won the Club World Cup with 2 clean sheets and a very high rating. When we come back to the rating, which I will compare more in the next few minutes, you will see that Vinicius had one tournament where he was higher, and then I actually think that, from what I remember, that Rodri actually has way better on average. His floor is way better than Vinicius. Vinicius has sometimes where he gets a 10, sometimes where he gets an 8, sometimes he gets 6, and sometimes he gets a 5.5. Vinicius is a way more inconsistent player. We shouldn't reward him for having an really good Champions League final. I don't even think it was amazing. Yes, he was a good player, but Real Madrid's defense deserved way more of the praise in that Champions League final than Vinicius doing. The triple attack came back and actually showed why he's the best goalkeeper. But let's look at Rodri. He's a CDM, which is again why I have added clean sheets, because he's a defensive midfielder and should have the clean sheets added to him, because that's an integral part of his job. Now, he's got 8 goals from central midfielder in 34 games. That's really, really good. He had 9 assists. He had 13 clean sheets. And Manchester City didn't lose with Rodri in the field. Like when Rodri played, Manchester just didn't lose in ordinary time. He was the best player. He had a long unbeaten streak. And actually, without Rodri, Manchester City, a team of 11 superstars, don't win the league last year. Rodri was the deciding factor to them winning the league, and it's why we should recognize how important this sense of defensive is, and how people has discussion. At the end of the season, there was no discussion. It was people had discussions between Rodri and Rice. At the end of the league, there was no discussion. People were just like, Rodri's just better, way better. Now, if you look at Rodri, yes, he got to the quarterfinals where they lost to him in extra time on penalties, which you can say what you want, but losing on penalties is not that bad. He was runner-up at the Community Shield, runner-up at the FA Cup. Yes, I know they also played the EFL Cup, but they went down in the second round, and Rodri didn't play. They finished first in the Premier League, which a lot of people mean is a harder league to win than La Liga. First of the Club World Cup. First in the Club World Cup. First in the UEFA Super Cup. Remember, the ballond'or for August to August, which is why the UEFA Super Cup will count for Rodri's ballond'or year, and next year, if we're discussing him, it would count for ballond'or players. For Spain, he had a very good Euros qualifier. Friendlies, we don't really care, but they are here if you want. And then the Euros, where he got player of the tournament in the Euros, and he won the tournament. Like, I know people again, the Champions League is the one thing where you can say what you know, but he won what is considered a harder league. They won the Club World Cup without conceding a goal. They won the UEFA Super Cup, and he won the Euros, which, in my opinion, is a harder tournament to win than the Copa America. So if I were to pick for me, the pick is between Rodri and Bellingham, and now we'll compare Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, Rodri, and Lautaro Martinez. Now, if we start here with Vinicius Jr., again, we go back and look at the average rating. He has one where he's over 8, and one where he's over 7.8, and one where he's over 7.5. Else he's just around 7. So he has a very low floor and goes in games where his team is not brilliant. He wasn't good in the friendlies for Brazil. They didn't play them. It wasn't good in the World Cup qualification. They didn't play that good in the World Cup. He scored 2 goals, yes, but again, his rating is not that good for 3 games. And Brazil, again, wasn't really important to, like, when he's not on a team that's play well, he is not going to change it, which is what we expect from the best player in the world. They should come into the team and change the dynamic. Like, how many years did people say, oh, Ronaldo, this, Messi, that? Even Mo Salah at Liverpool, you can see he is the clear difference to them winning the Champions League they won and the Premier League they won on the club. But Vinicius Jr. should get the Ballon d'Or because he scored in the Champions League final. Will be the most undeserved Ballon d'Or in a long time. I even think it would be more undeserved than the Ballon d'Or of Messi over Haaland last year. But that's just my opinion. Then we come to his teammate. Look, even in the same game, this is where Vinicius, he got a 6.2, Bellingham 7.9, way more. He has one game where he has a score close to 7.5. His average in tournaments, he has one game that's lower than Vinicius' 2 highest. Yes, Vinicius has a higher overall in the Super Cup. He has a higher Super Cup rating, so he has the highest rating there. And then you have a 7.9 Champions League. Bellingham was a better average player in Champions League than Vinicius Jr. was. He was a better average player in the Liga. He was a better average player when Real Madrid wasn't playing well and lost. He was a better average player for his national team, which means when he wasn't surrounded by 11 superstars, he was a better player. Vinicius is not the best player when he needs to have the other 10, like 4 other players in contention for or maybe more, to actually be a good player. Vinicius is like, he is not the superstar we are making him out to be by giving him the Ballon d'Or. We are talking about the Ballon d'Or should be the best player of the year. So we're giving it to a player that can only play for Real Madrid and is not even the best player at Real Madrid. For the first half year, Jude Bellingham was better. I will say he was more integral to them winning La Liga. The Spanish Super Cup, okay, Vinicius won that. The Champions League, let's see, I will say they were about even. Yes, Vinicius scored in the final, which is important to remember. Bellingham assisted Vinicius' goal, so he has a final assist. But again, Carlos scored the first goal. And if we look, Vinicius, which is said to be an amazing attacker and an amazing Champions League player, 7.9. Bellingham, 7.95, have 2 goals less and had the same amount of assists. Vinicius is an attacker and have 2 goals more in 1 game less. Like, why are we not recognizing that Bellingham is way better than Vinicius? Again, he has a better finish at the Euros, where he was also, if you look, Vinicius scored 2 goals in 3 games. That's quite good. But Bellingham, as a midfielder, scored 2 goals in 7 games and 1 assist, and he scored an amazing bicycle kick to keep England in the tournament. Without that bicycle kick, England would be out of the tournament in, I think it was round 16. But they got up to the Spain game. And Bellingham was just the best. Look, he's way better than Vinicius on average rating. His worst is a 7.65. That's better than 5 tournaments for Vinicius. His next worst is a 7.8. Like, Bellingham is just that much better. Yes, Vinicius had a better Super Cup, which is why which is the only tournament where he has a high rating. So for 2 games this season, he had an average higher rating than Jude Bellingham. But we are talking about the La Liga Player of the Year that had an average of an 8 score as a midfielder, played more games in both the Champions League, La Liga, and in the international summer tournament. Was better in a game where Real Madrid lost, which is why that a lot of players don't have good stats for the couple rated round 16. He is way more of a special talent that can pull something out of the bag to win one of the game, which he did 2 times at the Classico. We're talking about great game players. Jude Bellingham did it 2 times at Classico, the biggest tournament. And in one of them, he did the same. He scored 2 goals in one of Classico to basically get them to. I don't remember if it 1-1 and then 2-1, but I remember he scored 2-1 and they won that at Classico. They won both Classico with Jude Bellingham goals. This is a way better season and should be recognized way more as the better player than this season. Remember, we are talking about an attacker versus a midfielder. But if I show you this and made you guess Jude Bellingham's position, you would not guess he was a midfielder because his stats is up where he could be a striker and they would be decent stats for a striker. He almost had a 20-goal season, which is an amazing thing to have. He's a midfielder, guys. Jude Bellingham deserved this Ballon d'Or way more than Vinicius Jr. Then we go to the Taro. Here you can see Golden Boot, Serie A, Copa America, Player of the Season, Serie A. Like again, yes, his ratings are more similar to Vinicius Jr., but this is similar, but he scored more goals as an attacker. Actually, what you should score, only 5 goals more than Bellingham. He scored 5 goals in 6 games for Argentina that won the tournament. He was an integral part for Argentina to winning the Copa America. He was more integral than Messi to winning the Copa America. Round of 16, yeah, okay. You could say his Champions League campaign weren't that good. But like Vinicius, like this is the only thing people will say, oh, but he won the Champions League. If we forget this one tournament, Vinicius is not, and if the Champions League will matter, then Bellingham is better. Like Vinicius is not the best player of the year. Yes, he's a great dribbler. Yes, he creates a lot of space, but so just Jude Bellingham, just Lautaro Martinez. Jude Bellingham was more clutch in more moments last season. He was a better player on average last season. He was a better player in big games like a Classico, and he had an overall better resume. Lautaro Martinez won with different teams, which shows he's a more consistent player to high level because he can play with both Inter Milan and Argentina and win. But again, Vinicius can only play with Real Madrid to win. If you take Real Madrid away from Vinicius, he is a way worse player, not even in the discussion for Ballon d'Or. Yes, that's hard to say, but like it's 2 different players you see when they play for the national team and the Serie A and the club team. Where Lautaro Martinez actually showed that he is a good striker no matter where he plays. Yes, his World Cup qualification was bad. But if we know like this tournament, he had still a lot of goals. In 15 games, he had 8 goals and 1 assist. Remember, we are saying Vinicius was player of Champions League with 10 goals, with 10 games, 6 goals and 5 assists. Like Lautaro Martinez proved that he is a good player both when playing with Argentina and both when playing with Inter Milan. And let's not act like Brazil is a bad team. Vinicius just cannot play with them. He needs the Real Madrid system. He needs the Real Madrid players. He needs 10 of the best players in the world to actually show that he can be one of the best players in the world. So first, if I were to put the rank, I would say Jude Bellingham should be number 1. Then over Vinicius, I would also put Lautaro because he was a better attacker than Vinicius, and he showed that he could play well both from Argentina and from his club. He could play well from both club and country, where Vinicius wasn't that good for his club. Yes, he had a decent Copa America, but he's the best player in the world. Shouldn't Brazil have done better in a lot of the games? So yes, Vinicius Junior. So right now I have 2 players, and then we come to last player, Rodri. Again, he won a harder league. They lost to on penalties in the quarterfinals. They were runner-up in 2 of their tournaments. Yes, EFL is a bad tournament, but Rodri didn't play, so that's not really his fault. They won the Club World Cup, they won the UEFA Super Cup, and he won the Euros. So if you compare this, he won 4 trophies. One I would say is even with the Champions League. In the Euros, almost even. The UEFA Super Cup I would say is harder than the Spanish Super Cup, and the Club World Cup I would say is harder than the Spanish Super Cup. So if you take his 3 trophies here, I would say they are more valuable to win than the trophies, than the Champions League and the Spanish Super Cup combined. Yes, the Champions League is the big tournament, but how do you get into Club World Cup? You need continental. You want to win the Champions League to get into the Club World Cup, and this summer Club World Cup is even more important. But the Euros is a harder tournament to win than the Copa America because there's more teams and more good teams. Clean sheets, he had 13. He has 3 in 4 games. The only game where they didn't have clean sheet was the final where they lost. They didn't concede a goal in the Club World Cup. Even Spain, the two of the clean sheets they had in the Euros was with him on the field. Like Vinicius Jr. is an amazing player, but is he the best player in the world when we have 3 players that had exceptional seasons? In Jude Bellingham, that has a way better season than Vinicius and play for the same team, so the argument about he didn't win the Champions League is irrelevant, and had a better international tournament finish than Vinicius. The Towers needs to show that he can play well for both club and country, and has way more consistency than Vinicius Jr. And Rodri, that again has way more consistency than Vinicius Jr. Are we saying that a guy that won 4 trophies, the Euros, with the best on the best? Yes, Spain was the best playing team, but win the Euros and have 2 clean sheets, win the UEFA Super Cup, win the Club World Cup, only lose the quarterfinals on penalties to the people that won the tournament, and finish first in the hardest league in the world. Like, why are we saying Vinicius deserves this Ballon d'Or? Like, is this God-given right? Like, he was the best player by far last season. When I can show you 3 players that is, if not compare, if you are very, very generous to Vinicius, are comparable, and if you actually look at it, I would say Jude Bellingham and Rodri is definitely better, and the Towers and Vinicius you can get into a discussion about. But how can we ignore Jude Bellingham and say, oh, Vinicius deserves the Ballon d'Or because he scored at the Champions League final, but he didn't score the first goal, he scored the second goal. If that's the criteria, Danny Carvajal should win. He should win the Ballon d'Or because a goal in the Champions League final matters more than actually playing well all over the season. He should win the Ballon d'Or. He has 15 clean sheets. He has 3 clean sheets. Like, look at just stats. And I know as people say, oh, it's just stats, and we shouldn't all just say, oh, we just need stats to actually see how we do, and that's how we should judge on the player because we know. But if you judge on that, there's 3-4 players you can argue that is better than Vinicius. And on eye test, yes, Vinicius is a good player, but Jude Bellingham, in my opinion, was more integral to Real Madrid and the better player for Real Madrid. Danny Carvajal in defense were more integral to some of the win in the Champions League than Vinicius, and therefore more important. But City without Rodri is a completely different team and actually doesn't look like the best team in England. And with Rodri, they are clearly the best team there. And it's how he's proved that he's a good player if he plays for Serie A and for Argentina. But we're saying this guy, Vinicius Jr., should win the Ballon d'Or because he was the best Champions League player. Which, if you look at the average rating, he was worse than Bellingham. He was worse than Rodri in the Champions League. Those are just facts. On average, he's worse than both players in the Champions League, even though he won Player of the Tournament, Player of the Year in the Champions League. But he's worse on average than both Jude Bellingham and Rodri. But yes, this guy should win the Ballon d'Or because he won the Champions League and scored a goal and scored the second goal. Remember, I'm not saying that he didn't score in the final, but he scored when Real Madrid was already in a winning position and Dortmund weren't really close to winning that game. If it wasn't for Danny Carvajal, I don't think he would score because he forced with his goal Real Madrid to come more forward, or Dortmund to come more forward, which gave space to Vinicius Jr. Again, another player creating space. This is not the best player last season when we have 2 players that are unarguably better. One where what is even your argument? One where you can see the difference when he's not in the team. You cannot see the difference when Vinicius is not playing in the team. You can see the difference when Rodri is not playing for Man City. Jude Bellingham in the first half of the season pulled Madrid out of their ass multiple times. He gave them 2 a Clasico win. He was the player of the year in La Liga. For me, that's more impressive than being good for 10 games. It's better than being good for 28 games, or better being good in 34 games. We're saying that Vinicius he has a good Champions League. I'm not denying that. But so does Jude Bellingham. And again, we need to look at positions. Vinicius is an attacker and expected to score goals. Even someone that has a terrible scored 2 goals when they're an attacker in the round of 16. Jude Bellingham is a midfielder. He is clearly the best player in the world. Vinicius don't deserve this Ballon d'Or, and giving him to him would just make another decade of people saying, Rob, like we have with some of Messi and Ronaldo's Ballon d'Or. Like, why are we giving this, like, why are we giving Vinicius Jr. a Ballon d'Or when he's clearly not the best player last season? When we have 2 examples, in my opinion, that's clearly better. Jude Bellingham has the Champions League, so if that's your argument, go with Jude Bellingham. If you really value the Champions League more, you should value Jude Bellingham over Vinicius Jr. because he also has a good international tournament finish, unlike Vinicius Jr. in Brazil. In the one game where Real Madrid, a lot of them had a bad rating, he was one of the ones that stepped up and got them to try and win that game with an assist, which is why he had a 7.9 when they got kicked out of the tournament. Vinicius was good in the Champions League final, but we shouldn't award the Ballon d'Or in the Champions League final. We should give it to Jude Bellingham or Rodri, and I would say rogue shout to Martinez. So I would say we have 2 players that should be undiscussable higher than Vinicius Jr., which is why he don't deserve the Ballon d'Or. We could also say, if we go purely on tournaments, Danny Carvajal. If we go purely on goals, I could probably get Ronaldo's goal for Saudi League and say, look at how much I outscored Vinicius Jr., but then we get into a competition where it's like, how are we saying a defender can? So we're not saying a defender can never win the Ballon d'Or. Let's admit that the reason why Vinicius Jr. is winning this Ballon d'Or is because of attacker bias, and even that he's worse than other players in his team, namely a midfielder. Like if they had swap stats, it would not be as much discussion. People say, look at how good Vinicius was. If he had this, people would not say, Jude Bellingham. If we swap these 2 sheets, we would not say, Vinicius. No, Vinicius Jr. definitely deserves more. But no, because he scored a goal, the second goal to 2-0 in the Champions League final, people are like, he should win the Ballon d'Or. Come on, we have a whole season just on one game. I'm not saying Vinicius Jr. is not world class. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying giving him the title best player last season will be a big rivalry when we have 2 players that had exceptional season in Jude Bellingham and Rodri in midfield. We had an attacker that had a better season, in my opinion. If you look at personal stat and not where his team finished, and even better, when you take team finish, Jude Bellingham should be on the junior, or Danny Carvajal should be on this junior. If we take, how to take Rodri should go, Rodri should be on this junior. Can you see where I'm saying Vinicius Jr. falls short behind 2 players, and I will also say he's behind Taro Martinez, because I think it's more impressive that you can win with 2 teams and play well for both club and country than just playing well for Real Madrid, which had 11 superstars. Anyway, that became quite a long video. To my left, there will be another video to watch, probably from the argument, and to the right, you can just subscribe. I would probably go over why Vinicius Jr. robbed the Ballon d'Or, and I will look at how wingers in similar seasons either won it or didn't win it, but show why stats-wise Vinicius Jr. should win it. Yes, he's a good dribbler, but come on, does he really deserve the Ballon d'Or when we have people like Jude Bellingham? I don't think so. I think it's a complete disgrace that we're even discussing. And we already know he's going to win tomorrow, and it's a complete disgrace when you actually look at the stats and look at how to signify. And look how many games Jude Bellingham was clutch in for both Real Madrid and for his country. Again, Vinicius Jr., if we like, he was still good for Brazil, but he was not as clutch and actually carried Brazil. He didn't carry Real Madrid. He has a good season. So just with Bellingham. Trophy-wise, every Real Madrid player has a good season. But if you go trophy, Danny Carvajal should win it. So, to finish off, Vinicius Jr. is just not a good, why are we saying this guy is the best player in the world when he's clearly not? I know people say, but we cannot just judge for that. The eye test. Did you have eyes last year? Because in my eyes, yes, we have this attacker bias where we see a flashy Vinicius Jr. and a flashy attacker, and we say, he's so good, he should get the Ballon d'Or. But for me, Jude Bellingham was way more impressive last season. You could see it visibly with the situation what you didn't see. And this is the problem with the midfielder. When you don't notice a CDM, a defender, it's good. When you do notice them, it's often because something bad happened or they score a goal. When you don't notice, but when you can see them leave the team and see the effect they have, that should just tell you how integral and how good this one player is. But no, people think this guy should win the Ballon d'Or because he won one award and scored an important goal in the Champions League final over a guy that won an award that's just between more players and over more games, scored in two Clásicos, kept his national team in a tournament when they was almost out with an amazing bicycle kick goes better than Vinicius Junior goal in the Champions League final. So yeah. To my left there will be a video, and to my right you can subscribe to my channel. This became a